Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to pull your thoughts together and to start to define what we mean by this networking thing in terms that are meaningful to you. I hope you're getting a sense that this networking thing is, first of all, something important, that is very, very relevant to you as a leader, whatever kind of leader and whatever focus areas you specifically think that you have. And we do need to define it cleanly and effectively, because unless we have a clear sense of not only what this is, but the value of it in our heads, we're not going to probably do much about it. I sometimes come across folks, be they employees or officers, who kind of like to do certain things in their work and in the different parts of their work and tend to avoid the other ones. And in fact, I can be like that myself too if I'm not careful. So it's very important that we attach good things and associate good things to this. So what I want to encourage you to do is from this point forward to let's ditch the word networking, because that sort of triggers a lot of bad energy and a lot of bad feeling and a lot of discomfort for many of us, and to simply call it what it hopefully says in your notes there, which is making connections. Okay, making connections with people in your community in terms of the core and the ministry that you're engaged in, but also making connections beyond your immediate neighbours and beyond that within the sort of the echelons of your community that can really build strategic partnerships with you as well. Now, I can't imagine that you ever do this, ever. Expect people to kind of guess what you want. Well, people should know, shouldn't they, that we're the army and we do need, this and we need donations of that and what have you. I was talking to somebody recently and they needed, of all things, donations of underwear. They had plenty of clothing, but they needed underwear. I remember some other people needed winter coats over the winter period, and they were like, why don't we have donations of winter coats? Well, probably because nobody actually knows that you need winter coats or, frankly, underwear, especially ladies' underwear. Now, enough about that, but you get the idea. We can slip into, if we're not careful, this assumption that people should know what we want, and we're kind of expecting them to do so, and not expecting to have to go have conversations or reach out to people that could help us with this kind of thing. Let's give you another example. Do you ever sit there and sort of hope that you're going to get what you want? Well, we're hoping that this is going to happen this year and what have you, without necessarily doing anything or without necessarily doing much to actually make those things come to fruition. I want to just warn you that there is a tendency in life for all of us to occasionally think that things are going to magically happen that we want to see happen. And it's a danger that we don't realize that we're talking about it, but not necessarily doing that much to help to make the things happen that we want to see happen. Now, I'm sure you never do these things. I'm very sure I never used to do this kind of stuff. Do you ever sit there and go, do you ever sort of sulk that somebody down the street in your community got something and you didn't? The Red Cross got a donation and they didn't give anything to us. Do you ever sort of drop hints and sort of hope and wish or wait and wait for things that you'd like to have happen to happen? This is also something we can be in danger of doing if we're not necessarily doing the things that we need to do. Do you ever feel sort of not so good about yourself around other people? Do you ever go to a gathering and go, oh my goodness, she seems awfully confident or he seems awfully confident, and here's little old me, not quite sure what to do or what to say? Do you let other people dominate sometimes conversations and sort of wish you had the courage to speak up a little more than you maybe do? Well, I had a revelation a good many years ago to realize that this is called, technically speaking, passive behavior. Okay, passive behavior. Now, we can all be, not all of us, but quite a lot of us, the victim of passive ways of thinking and feeling and behaving. And this is a real barrier, very real barrier to doing and being as effective as we want to be, doing the things we want to do and being as effective as we wish to be. It's especially important in this sort of interpersonal area. Some folks, they stand in the middle of their world, but they're doing the things that they can do to influence things. They're doing the things that they can do to be an influencer and to reach other influencers to make things happen for the good of their mission. Whereas other people are concerned about these things and they're not necessarily aware of what it takes, the relatively doable things that they need to be doing in order to make the things happen that they want to see happen for the good of the mission and the people that they wish to serve. So there's an issue here about being not so much passive, but the opposite of that, which is really proactive, to know what to do, to know the urgency and the importance of it, and to start to do it as a habit, really. If I talk to people in the sales world who are very effective salespeople, what you tend to find is that they know what to do, and they do it frequently, as a habit, as a way of life. They don't question it, they just do what it takes to reach people, to help to reach their own goals. And so I just want to plant these seeds in your head stage by stage here. Because, of course, the challenge is this, in an ideal world, the things, the people that could most help you to get where you want and to do the things that you most want to do in your work or your ministry. Well, those things in an ideal world, of course, would come and find you, wouldn't they? You'd be getting phone calls, Lieutenant, I thought of you. Here is a bunch of money. Here's a bunch of stuff that will help you in your work, in your ministry, and that hopefully would be happening on a regular basis. Now, I'm sure it happens to some degree, but for it to happen as much as we would want or sometimes need it to happen, we've got to be building relationships and strategic ones. Those things would not just come and find you, but they would arrive at your door. People would be calling you, emailing you, and they would be interested and really want to help you in an ideal world. On a regular basis. Now, of course, in the real world, those things, they happen to some degree, but they happen to some extent as much as we are helping to create connections which help to make them happen. Okay, so in the real world, what is the best response to the fact that it's not really like that for most of us most of the time, unless we're really building good relationships? The answer is to help to make it happen, all those things, make those things happen as a habit. That means, as you're going to see, speaking to not just people, but the right people. And no one is particularly the wrong people, but we want to speak to the people who are most relevant to achieving the goals that we have in mind. Doesn't mean we can't help others along the way, but we do need to work out who those people are that will be the most appropriate people to speak to regularly enough. Excuse me. And to speak to them not just occasionally and randomly, but regularly enough. So getting organised is going to be an issue here. I know people who speak to anybody and everybody, and they say, oh yeah, everybody knows me. Okay, but those relationships aren't going anywhere. Because what you've got to do is to learn, and there are strategies and practical reminders to be set, to speak to the right people, the people that you have identified and built connections with, regularly enough to make fruit come of those relationships, not just for you, but for them as well. And doing what really helps to build mutually helpful connections. Absolutely essential. So what's that going to mean for you? Let's finish off our defining here of what we mean by building strategic relationships. It means actively offering things of value. It may mean a little bit of your time, a little bit of your information, one or two of your contacts, giving other people opportunities. Corporate groups often like to come and do work with non-profits. And giving those corporate groups opportunities can lead to things happening that are not just of value for them, but of value to your community and to you, and maybe even could be of significant value if those relationships begin to bear real fruit. Sometimes just giving input to other people. What would you suggest? Well, let me suggest this. And to offer people things of value, and not just offer things of value to anybody. Believe me, there's people I could be helping on a day-to-day basis, but whom I'm either not paid to offer such things to, or who really can't offer that much to me that is of relevance to me in my work, and of value to me too. So it needs to be a case of offering things of value to those who can do the same for you. So to do that, and to do it well, and to do it effectively, what you've got to do is to know exactly what you want or need, what your goals are, and what it is that you want to do, and what resources it is that you want to find, in order to know who to be spending a little bit more time and energy with to build mutual connection, and who to offer your resources and your input and your collaboration with as well. So for example, if I give my friend something, or offer them something of some use or value, or loan them something, they will tend to respond, and usually they'll be willing to do the same for me when I do that kind of stuff too. So this kind of mutual reciprocity is the kinds of ethic that we want to approach this kind of thing with, because then it's far more natural and comfortable, and we're kind of doing it anyway. As it says here, we do this in life generally. So all we're advocating here is doing this in our work and our life and our ministry, because it will bring the same kind of benefits. But we're doing it just with a bit more intentionality, and realizing that as a leader, this really is a pivotal skill set to boost our effectiveness and our ability to achieve the goals that we have in ministry. And that's all that making connections really involves. So exercise number 2, with a partner. Could you have some kind of a dialogue around this? How have you and how have we tended to feel about this whole talking to people thing in the past? Because I'm not just talking about talking to people. I'm talking about doing this with a little bit of intentionality, a little bit of carefulness and strategic edge. That's really what we're talking about here. How have we tended to feel about sort of talking to new people, people we don't know, or we don't know well in the past? How have we tended to feel about that? And how are we starting to feel about it now? Just give you a few moments to do that exercise.